Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the New Britain Township Board of Supervisors meeting for November 3rd. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Chair comments. The board met in executive session before this meeting to discuss personnel and litigation matters. Agenda item 4, presentation. I will turn it over to Chief.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the police department currently has 5 of our sworn officers that have previously served in the armed forces in various branches of service. Given that it's Veterans Day next Monday, we'd like to recognize them. At least 2 of the officers are here today, Corporal Mark Duncan and Corporal Rich Mitchie, along with some family. So which is nice to see. And Officer Dan Gonzalez had a family emergency, so he's not here tonight. So one of the things that we want to recognize is their continued desire to serve. They served in the military. Now they serve our community. Also, we want to recognize that they sacrifice time away from their families, which also is something that we need to thank their families for. As being in the military myself, I know that, there's many times that you deploy or you're away for weekend drills, you miss birthdays, you miss important dates that can't be made up. This job that we do now is the same way. We miss birthdays, we miss those dates. We're not always there. And that's a sacrifice that the families make. So it's important that when we do recognize our officers, that we recognize their sacrifices that the families. So at this time, I want to call up Corporal Rich Mitchie and Corporal Mark Duncan. I'd like to present them with commemorative military badges, which have the crest of the service that they served with, and their badge numbers. And if someone from their family, Janice, and I guess Abby, but that's more. Yeah. No, that's that might be a little worried.
Well, if I had my readers, it would be a lot easier.
Stick it in there as far as you can. You'll know.
No, because it'll come back and bite me.
Don't go through the Kevlar.
There we go.
Thank God.
Congratulations, thank you for your service.
That's cool.
Thank you.
That's really nice.
Hey, Chief, why don't you stand in between them and that way they can get a picture of
Well, we're also going to go down and have a picture with them as well.
Yeah, let's have a picture.
Thank you. Pictures. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
You get all of us? If you don't mind, just, you're just getting in, yeah.
One with the 3 of us. All right.
No, that's good. Yeah, right behind you.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's bobbing in there.
Enjoy.
Thank you, guys.
The chief forgot to mention, he is the fifth mayor.
Yes,
Yes.
I understood.
Thank you, Chief. That's why I thanked him too.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, moving on. Agenda item 5, motion to consider consent agenda. Consent agenda A, approved minutes of October 15th, 2024 budget workshop meeting 2, approved minutes of October 21st, 2024 Board of Supervisors meeting, approved regular bills list dated October 30th, 2024 in the amount of $65,404.82. Approved prepaid bills list dated October 23rd, 2024 in the amount of $298,633.20. Dated October 31st, 2024 in the amount of $14,432.84. E, approved land development escrow release number 3, final for 324 Schoolhouse Road, Holy Properties LLC in the amount of $87,702. And F, approved zoning permit escrow release number 7, final for 324 Schoolhouse Road in the amount of $28,460. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Bill, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mary Beth, are there any questions or concerns from the board? No. No. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Moving on to action items. Dan,
Yes. Give us 1 second to set up. Thank you.
yes, we are having the presentation of the 2025 budget. Do we want to dim one set of the lights?
Sorry, didn't I get the wrong?
Part of our
reading?
budget
I didn't get the right number.
Yeah.
We figure out which ones to dim.
One's at the black.
There we go.
There.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm pleased to present to the board tonight the 2025 preliminary budget for your consideration and hopeful adoption. Just to go through the timeline of where we started and where we're at. Back in August, we sent a memo to all the department heads to start preparing their budget requests. And I'd like to thank all the department heads for their hard work and really recognizing what we were trying to accomplish in 2025. They all contributed, and it was a team effort, which you see here tonight. We started work in August of 24. We met with the finance committee to go over some formatting issues. In September of 24, we had our first budget workshop where we went through the departmental request to kind of get a feel where they were at and where we were looking and where we were heading. The departments presented their operating budgets to us a small degree, but mostly their capital items, what they were looking for. On the bigger ticket items, and you'll see why in a little bit, why we just focused on those capital items. October, we had our second workshop, and where we discussed how the budget was coming together and what was fitting and what wasn't fitting. Which brings us to tonight. The preliminary budget's in front of you for hopefully adoption. Once we adopt it, it'll become available for public inspection. We will send a notice to the newspaper. It's going to go out tonight, so it's in this weekend. That it is available, and we will look to adopt it at our regular, or our December meeting, which will be December 9th. At our next board meeting on the 18th, we will do a budget review session where we'll actually go through various line items. We'll go through the capital budget to see what stays and what doesn't stay. Everybody knows that when you put a budget together, things survive, things don't. It's just the way that works. When we were preparing the budget, we kept three key factors in mind. We wanted to improve fiscal responsibility. We wanted to look at the long-term funding of the capital plan. And we wanted to maintain the current levels of service. And we believe that this budget, which we haven't, what we're preparing and going to show, it does accomplish all three of those goals. Sometimes, you have to look at it, in my view, that they go hand in hand. You can't have two of the goals accomplished and one just sits, we don't get to it. It doesn't work that way. A budget is a living, breathing document that lays out the plan for 2025. And it should be viewed as such, and it has to encompass every aspect of the municipality and what we do, what our core services are, what we want to add to the community. Can't be just one or the other. Our revenue sources are basically, as the board knows, the earned income tax, our Act 511 taxes, and our real estate tax. Act 511 taxes are the real estate transfer tax and the LST tax. And then our other sources are basically the major other sources that we get are cable TV, the franchise agreements, building permits, and state entitlements, the pension money and the fireman's relief money. And then we have some other miscellaneous revenue sources, but those are our main sources of revenue. Earned income tax is nice because it's a self-perpetuating increase every year, depending upon the economy, obviously. But you see increases in earned income tax naturally through salary increases for people, and when we get new residents, and we'll see some new houses being occupied in 25. We've had some this year. We'll see some more next year. We don't know exactly what those numbers will be for those people, so you budget that kind of conservatively. You don't guess at numbers that may or may not happen. I'll take a guess at, we'll plug a number in, but we're not going to be overly optimistic. And when I talk about why the department heads really focused on their capital items, when you look at the operating budgets, 87% of that operating cost is fixed. And that is salaries, benefits, insurance, things that do with personnel and everyday electricity bills, things that we have no discretion on. You're going to have them, you're going to pay them. The 13% basically deals with how much supplies we're going to buy, how much road are we going to take care of that's not part of our road program? Are we going to do the line striking? Are we going to do sanitary or storm sewer cleaning? That's a little bit discretionary, but so you can see the department heads are kind of locked in to their operating budget. They don't really have a lot of discretion on what that number is going to be. So that's why we had them focus basically on the capital portion. Now the numbers. In 2025, we're asking the board for a 1.5 millage increase for the general fund. As you can see, just to give you some numbers, the average home is valued at $540,000 in our township. The average assessment is $39,500. The current average property tax is $573. The proposed would go to $632 or $59 additional a year. You can $60 if you want to round up, for about $4.92 a month. While that is not significant, it still is asking more of the people, and we realize that. And that's why we went through, and I'll talk about a little on the next page, really keeping an eye on our expenses. But we do feel that to be prudent, we need to increase our real estate that I don't know what that was.
Counselor.
She didn't even glance.
I know, she didn't.
Sorry. Showing how important equipment.
A 1.5 mil increase will bring in an additional $275,000 in revenue. So that's what we're looking for in the general fund. To give you an idea of the millage history, we went back to 2019. In 2020, you increased by 1 mil. The rate stayed the same for 3 years. And in 23, you increased by 1.4375 mils. And now we're asking 2 years later for a 1.5 mil increase. I use this chart all the time because I can. It tells a story. But it really is to put in perspective what people, where their money, where the average taxpayer money goes. We are by far the smallest bucket. And it's important to keep that in mind, that we really, while we do have an impact to homeowners on their earnings by taking real estate tax money and earned income tax, we are the smallest impact that they have. And we try, I think townships act very responsibly when it comes to asking our taxpayers to pay more. We're a lot closer to them, obviously. You know, I have always used the line, we're the only level of government where people can actually reach out and touch us. They call us, they get us. We know, you know, the taxpayers as well as anybody. They're your neighbors. So, but I do like to show this slide again because I can. It helps. I'm not going to lie on it. Here is our total budget for 2025, what we're proposing. Our total revenues are $10,203,000. Of that, $9,482,159 is coming in from new cash. 721,000 is carryover. Now, of that, 488 is from in the general fund, 488,000 general fund. And there was a planned drawdown of the reserve and liquid fuels of the remaining amount. Liquid fuels account was getting large, and at some point the state was going to say to us, hey, you need to start spending that money. We had probably, well, we did, we had $900,000 sitting in there when we only get $400,000 from them every year. So we're just going to draw some of that down and do a little additional paving in 2025. But we're still going to keep a reserve because you can use that for emergencies, for roads. You can use it to, if one of our big dump trucks goes down, you can actually buy equipment out of liquid fuels. So yes, we want to keep a reserve, but it shouldn't be 100% of what we get. So that was a planned drawdown to do some additional paving. So you can see all of the funds, our expenses match our revenues, and we're plugging with those two cash balances to open up in 2025. Just to give you an idea, in 2024, our budget was $11,204,000. So we're basically $1 million less in 2025. Part of that is, a large part of that is the ARPA funding that we don't have. We spent over $500,000 last in 2024, so that number's coming out of that. So we got to, when you're comparing, you want to make sure you compare apples to apples. But we did take a long, hard look at the expenses in all the funds, and where we felt that the numbers didn't justify the spending, then we made reductions. But it is overall $1 million less that we're spending. This goes back to our financial stability, and this is one of the things that we look at constantly. Is building up the reserves. The reserve for general fund is, as you can see, $2,571,000. Reserve for capital is $2,738,000. And the restricted reserve is basically the open space money, the money that's from liquid fuels, the money that's set aside for the fire companies, all those restricted accounts. That's that total number. So those numbers, and I people have asked me, what are good reserve numbers? And I always look at this from when I was in the bond business. When we would take a look at doing a debt issue for a town or an authority, we'd look at their budgets and see what they had in reserves. And you always wanted to have somewhere between 20 to 30, at least 30%. Like we'd always like 25 to 35% of your operating budget in general fund reserve. That gives you a cushion. I know you looked at it before using the monthly calculation, but if we do that now, the general fund monthly is about 590,000. So and you like the 3 times, so that's like 1.7 million. We actually have we have in excess of that, which is good. It gives us that ability to draw that 448 out of the general, not impacted significantly, but still have an impact, but keep it in a reasonable area. But again, my experience and the bond rating agencies, and they're the ones who really look at your reserves when you're going to do a bond issue, is the rating agency will look at your numbers and they'll come up with a rating for the municipality. And to get a AA, you need to have somewhere in that 25 to 35%. AAAs, they don't give out anymore. The only AAAs left are Lower Merion, Tredyffrin, and there might be one other, maybe Upper Merion. School districts have a chance to get them, but they look for 100% of your budget and reserve to get AAA. You can't justify that. You can't justify that to your taxpayers. That's not fiscally responsible. So next steps, I'm going to ask the board tonight to approve the budget. We will have another budget review on November 18th. And once we complete that, we'll adopt the final budget on December 9th at our meeting. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions, and I'll respectfully ask that the board approve the preliminary budget for 2025.
Thank you, Dan, for the presentation. As chair, I'd like to add this comment as a follow-up, that the Board of Supervisors has a fiduciary duty to the residents of New Britain Township. We are entrusted with managing the township budget in a fiscally responsible manner. And with this budget, the township is moving away from relying on those cash reserves that we have to pull on to balance and towards a clearer picture of our financial standing. So thank you very much for all your hard work with our department heads as well. Do I need to make a motion before we can discuss?
Yeah.
Yep. Do I have a motion on the table to approve advertising the preliminary budget for 2025.
So moved.
Bill, do I have a second?
Second.
Mary Beth, any questions from the board? For Dan?
I'm not at this.
I don't have any questions. I would just
Comments?
echo, what Cynthia said. Well, no one wants to hear that there's going to be a tax, or there could potentially be a tax increase, with this budget. It's important to make sure that we not only maintain the services that our residents need and deserve, but do it in a financially responsible way, and that's not taking too much from our reserves. So that's, unfortunately, things get more expensive, and that's where we're at.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I just want to add one thing to what Dan said, that we know the taxpayers, they're our neighbors, they're also us.
That's true.
Because we all live in this township
That's true.
and we all pay taxes, so we're not escaping anything ourselves.
I think we've shown over the years that we try to be as frugal as we can and not just capriciously adding taxes every year like some municipalities do. So I think this is the year we now have to, in quotes, bite the bullet and raise it a little bit. We'll see whether we have to do it next year or the following year, but that'll be then.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. I shall call the question. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. And I take very seriously, I know you guys pay the actual taxes. I view it as I do also. I mean, I do in the town I live in, but we don't take, and none of the department heads view this as, we just want money to spend. Where everybody takes it very seriously. We know that there's a responsibility that's involved with what we do. And we appreciate the board's efforts to keep us going in the right direction.
Oh, I have a question. I'm so sorry. Is that, I know in certain places, and it could be for school taxes and not township taxes, so I apologize. But I know I had forwarded some information to my parents. Is there any sort of reimbursement for our seniors who are on fixed
So
income?
the state runs a rebate program. And it's done, there's certain qualifications. It's done on,
Yes.
it's done on income.
Yes,
And age is the first criteria, income is the second, and it's a sliding scale on income. The max income is $45,000 a year, but half your social security earnings are exempted from that.
Mhm.
So, and then that's gets you the lowest reimbursement amount. And then there's a scale that goes up as the less you make, but we can certainly post something.
if we could post
or a
that
link
information
to
for
that on
our
the
residents,
website,
for anyone
certainly.
that might be in a limited income.
Yeah.
I just, because this is obviously something that we all do take very
Yeah,
seriously.
it's
We wanna
a
make sure
state
we-
sponsored.
Yeah, program.
But there are also deadlines in that, so it's imperative that,
Yes.
we
Yes.
can get that information out there
So
so
we
they
can
can
get that
get it in
information.
qualification time.
There's also the homestead exemption. I believe that's run by the county,
County.
County. Mhm.
which also has deadlines.
So,
So come Wednesday morning, hopefully everything will be up on the website.
It won't be up on Wednesday morning, but it'll get it.
They'll get it. So by the end of this week.
By the end of this week, yes.
Yeah.
One
great.
of our new website, we'll be able to do that ourselves,
Isn't that amazing? So exciting.
but we will send it to them Wednesday morning to post.
Okay.
But we'll certainly make this available Wednesday morning here at the township building, in case anybody flips on and watches it.
Right.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to information items, engineers report, Craig.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll have our engineers report for the next meeting. And I anticipate 2 land development projects on that November 18th agenda, one for WB Homes 4-lot subdivision. Planning Commission did see that. It's on Berry Road. It's a sketch plan at this point. And then also we're anticipating Plumstead Christian School coming in for a waiver of land development for their modular units in the back. Their phase 2 will be the full-blown land development, but right now they need approval for their modular units. So I'm anticipating those 2 on your items for next meeting. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Anything from our solicitor for tonight?
No, just everyone have a safe and some of you are gonna have a day off, but have a safe time on election day.
Mhm.
Go out and vote and
Okay.
enjoy your day.
Some of us are gonna have a
Thank
day off.
Okay, Board of Supervisors comments. I'm gonna start on this end because I started with you last time. Stephanie?
I'll echo what Scott said, about election day. Hopefully everyone who hasn't already done so gets out to vote tomorrow. Thank you to our police department for participating in trunk or treat recently. Hopefully, and I know, at our last meeting, we were told that the officers would also be out with candy at on Halloween night. So hopefully all of that went well. That's all I have.
I'll tag on to you. I did see the officers in our development, especially on Halloween, circling around, giving the candy out to the children. Was that an expense that we did, or was that donations for the candy?
This is a donation.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
Mary Beth?
I just want to follow along and encourage everyone to exercise their constitutional right to vote and to do so in a safe and respectful manner of everyone else's rights to vote. And here's for a non-eventful day, and kudos to our Constitution and our votes and our rights.
Bridget?
So just a reminder that Veterans Day is coming up and that the township will be having a small ceremony out back by our memorial. I believe our wonderful police chief, who is also a veteran, thank you for your service, chief, will be laying some wreaths, and there'll be some speakers. I think St. Jude's School has a choir that's coming, I think. Usually they come and they're really sweet listening to them. And then also something that I noticed, both just observing and, first let me go back. Halloween, my son was so excited to see the officer and ran up and was like, "Mom, got a full-size candy bar." He was very excited. Unfortunately, I couldn't catch up to him to get a picture. Because there was so many kids, they were swarming the police officer. He was very safe, though, obviously, surrounded by all those children. But so yes, thank you for doing that. I saw you guys out and that was really wonderful. But if we're watching Blue Mountain and Lehigh Valley, let's all be aware that we are in a fire watch. Please be careful with your dried things, barbecue grills, sparks, anything like that, cigarettes, like anything. Just be very, very careful right now while we are still in this very severe drought. I don't want anything impacting our direct community, and my thoughts and prayers are out there for Lehigh Valley. And then again, go vote everyone tomorrow and be safe and respectful.
I do have one other question. Have you had any follow-up information about the fire up near Butler?
So we did have someone come in today that may have some more information for us to follow up on. That evening, we got some information on some potential juveniles that were in the area. So we're following up with them as well.
Yes, thank goodness that was able to be put out before it spread
Thank goodness.
much further.
Yeah.
Thank goodness. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
So yes, there is a fire ban at the moment. All open flames are not welcome. As you can tell, it's very dry at this moment. The officer did stop in front of my house, which is wonderful. We got to trade full-size candy bars. I still owe him one. So, but yes, children very much liked seeing the officers out and about. So it was wonderful to see. Yes. No public comment from tonight. So announcements, the township offices will be closed tomorrow on election day. Everyone please go vote. The Environmental Advisory Council meeting will be on Wednesday, November 6th at 7 p.m. here in the township building. Then the township offices will be closed as well on Veterans Day. However, we will have the Veterans Day ceremony at 11 a.m. out the front here in North Branch Park.
Back in the building.
Back of the
Yes. Back of the building.
Yeah. Do I have a motion to close the meeting at 7:33?
So moved.
Mary Beth, do I have a second?
Second.
Bridget, all those in favour?
Hi.
Aye.
Motion adjourned. We will see you all next meeting at Monday, November 18th, 2024 at 7 p.m.
If we
Good
don't-
night.
We don't see you tomorrow.
Right.